wish I could explain your eyes and how the sound of your voice gives me butterflies. How your smile makes my heart skip a beat. How every time I'm with you I feel so complete, so complete. You are the light when there is no sun. You are the rainbow when the rain is done. You are the wind that whistles my name. You are the love when the world's the same. You are the star that twinkles in the night. You are the moon that shines so bright. You are the wind that whistles my name. You are the love when the world's the same. Have you ever met someone you feel like he's the one? Have you ever loved so much it almost hurt? I wish I could explain your eyes and how the sound of your voice gives me butterflies. How your smile makes my heart skip a beat. How every time I'm with you I feel so complete, so complete. You are the light when there is no sun. You are the rainbow when the rain is done. You are the wind that whistles my name. You are the love when the world's the same. You are the star that twinkles in the night. You are the moon that shines so bright. You are the wind that whistles my name. You are the love when the world's the same.
Somebody let the sun come up again. What you need is the heat of the summer. Lost your mind, need the light to recover. I swear we're headed on the better days, and the sun will come up again. 'Cause you brought me the sun. Have you been let down? Did you hold your ground when you needed to? Oh, the way you smile makes the past worthwhile. Now I feel like I believe in a higher love. Somebody let the sun come up again. What you need is the heat of the summer. Lost your mind, need the light to recover. I swear we're headed on the better days, and the sun will come up again. 'Cause you brought me the sun.
Good afternoon. Thank you so much for joining us for the first ever Queers for Action Mayoral Forum. I'm Jeffrey Omura. I'm one of the co-founders of Queers for Action. Queers for Action started last fall, the day that Joe Biden dropped out of the presidential race. I was sitting together with some friends, and we thought maybe we can get a few people, get in some cars, drive down to Pennsylvania, knock on some doors for Kamala Harris. Well, a few people turned into 1,500 on 29 buses, and we knocked on over 75,000 doors, and that was because of the work that you all put in. So thank you for coming back. Thank you for being a part of the Queers for Action family. We decided with this mayoral election, it was a great opportunity to get the gang back together. We brought together a new coalition of the 8 leading service organizations that serve the LGBTQ community here in New York City. We've got Ali Forney Center, Callan Lord, Caribbean Equality Project, The Center, GMHC, New Pride Agenda, PFLAG NYC, and SAGE. I want to thank them all for helping to get the word out today and for all the work that they do on behalf of our community. I'd also like to thank Red Eye Bar for sponsoring this event, hosting us all here. And also Hush Bar in Hell's Kitchen. We've got another sold-out venue just up the street who are watching the live stream right now. Everybody say hello to the folks at Hush. And with that, I'd like to introduce my fellow organizer, Amit Singh Baga.
Let's hear it for Jeffrey one more time. This one on? We're using this one? Yeah. Okay. What's up? My name is Amit Singh Baga, as Jeffrey mentioned, my dear friend Jeffrey. A big, warm welcome to our entire family, our entire queer and trans family here in New York City. Thank you for being here. The fact that you have showed up really demonstrates your commitment to our city, to our community, and to our democracy. And that is not easy. Each and every single one of us and our community at writ large is in the crosshairs right now. Alongside our immigrant siblings, we are the ones traipsing the streets of New York City with targets on our back. In this moment, it would be easy for any of you, for all of us, to feel afraid, to retreat into the shadows. But this is a completely full room, and we have another completely full room at Hush. And let's hear it. And the fact that all of you are here is a testament to your courage, and it is a testament to the resilience of our community. For us, this forum is a clarion call. Not just to the candidates, but also to queer people across the city. It is time to wake the fuck up. In a mayoral cycle where personalities and politics have completely dominated the conversation instead of policies for the people, our issues in particular have gotten completely lost. And we are under grave threat from the classroom to the emergency room. We already know, we've known for decades, that no one is going to fight for us unless we are fighting for ourselves. And that's what this forum is, demanding answers from those who might be at Red Eye today, but might be in the Blue Room at City Hall tomorrow. The next mayor isn't going to have to just govern this restive, diverse city of 8.5 million people. They're going to have to stand up for democracy in a way that no mayor of New York City has had to before. And standing up for democracy tomorrow means that you have to fight for the very communities that are being sacrificed at the altar of authoritarianism today. Before we get started, I want you all to take note of who has chosen to participate today, who has shown up, and who has not. Who has taken the time to respect us, to engage us, and yes, sell us on their candidacies, and who has not. They say that people show you who they are, and that when they do, you should listen. So I say, we're fucking listening. Thank you all for being here today. And without further ado, it is my distinct honor and pleasure to introduce someone who absolutely needs no introduction whatsoever, the marvelous and magnificent Marty Goldcummings.
Thank you, Amit and Jeffrey. Okay, nothing gives me greater joy than having a mayoral forum where the candidates were waiting downstairs with a mural with a giant dick and butthole. That gives me great joy. That gives me great joy. Nothing gives me greater joy than a venue that has drag shows and sex parties holding a mayoral forum. Because politics is about representing everyone, representing the sex workers, representing the freelance community, representing drag artists, representing trans people. And like we heard, the candidates that did not show up, can I say the one? Cuomo does not care about this community. He does not care about anything but power and greed. And we need to make sure we are electing a mayor that not just says, oh, sure, yeah, I support queer people and trans people. We need policy and platforms and action to protect our trans, non-binary, genderqueer community. And for all of you who are here, we know that every person within the LGBTQIA+ community is under attack, but most especially our trans siblings. And so for all the cisgendered LGBs who want to be a voice, get out there and fight for the community that has led the movement and continues to lead the movement. Use your privilege to fight back, and we are asking that of our candidates today as well. So that's not on my script, but I had to say it because they gave me a microphone and I don't give a fuck, okay? Excuse me. Anyway, come to my show here on Wednesday. Now, okay, this is how this is gonna work. Oh, you're checking this out. Oh, hi, no, don't be sorry. Be quiet. No, I'm kidding. Okay, I'm kidding. Drag queens have jokes. Okay, okay, we are gonna have two panels today. We're gonna have two panels. The first will have Adrian Adams, Michael Blake, and Brad Lander. There will then be a 10-minute intermission between. Yeah, grab a cocktail, grab a mocktail, grab a coffee, grab a tea, take a tinkle, do whatever you need to do. There will be a 10-minute break. The second panel will have Jessica Ramos, Zoran Mandami, and Scott Stringer. Each panel is going to be asked the same set of questions and then additional questions from the audience. We have QR codes where you can submit your questions. So if you got a QR code, pass those around so you can submit your questions because we want to hear from you. We hope to get through as many questions as possible. We encourage, showing some love, appreciation, respect, but also, they're trying to earn our vote. So, let's keep it the drama to a minimum. I know we all like a little kiki, but let's keep that drama, together. Okay, so each candidate will have 1 minute for an opening statement and 1 minute to answer each question. Please silence your cell phones. And we also have this beautiful little timer down here, so if the candidates get a little long-winded, we're gonna be wrap it up, girls. Okay, we run a tight ship. All right. I am so excited. One of my dearest friends, who you all know her. She's one of the most incredible humans I've ever met in my life, and she's going to be moderating our panel today. Put your hands together for the one, the only Peppermint!
Hello. Y'all ready? Y'all ready? Now listen, okay, y'all. I never have done anything like this before. I'm really excited though. I'm nervous, I'm excited, and I'm really fucking angry, and I don't know why. So I'm excited to be able to finally hear from candidates who want to come here. I think they might have mentioned already that all the candidates in this race have been invited. Not all of them have shown up, and that is quite all right. But we are going to ask these questions and get to the nitty-gritty. Now, here's my opening piece. I believe that the LGBTQ plus community is probably one of the most intersectional communities that exists because we are born the way we are into every race, every gender, every sexuality, every nationality, every religious group, every political affiliation, just like any single categorization of people, LGBTQ people exist in. And that means that every single issue is an LGBTQ plus issue. And I think what we often see, especially politically, is people sort of siloing or separating LGBTQ issues for things that are pertaining to like June and Pride. And it's so much more than that, especially these days. And so that's the lens that we're gonna be asking all these questions in. And I'm really excited for you to help me welcome to the stage our very first 3 candidates to come and speak. I didn't look at the paper, but I'm gonna look right now. Please welcome Adrienne Adams, Comptroller Brad Lander, and Michael Blake to the stage. All right, so I think you heard how we're gonna do this. Welcome, welcome folks. So we're gonna give each and every single one of our candidates an opportunity to tell us why they believe they are the best person to fight for and protect the rights of LGBTQ plus people in New York City. But first, I'm going to give you a proper introduction, if that's cool. All right, y'all. Here to tell us why they believe that they are the best to protect and fight for queer and trans rights in New York City. Please welcome, giving us a 2-minute 1-minute moment, a 1 minute, a 30-second, a 15-second, y'all probably already know, so we ain't gonna say it. Giving us a 1-minute moment on why they believe they are the best candidate to do so. Please welcome Michael Blake, former assembly member from the Bronx and Obama White House.
What's going on, everybody? How we doing today? I don't know if I've ever been in a space where Peppermint said you'd be nervous. I don't believe that at all. I'm just gonna say that right now. Thank y'all for creating space for everyone for the first time that you might be seeing me. My name is Michael Blake. I served in the Assembly for 6 years. Before that, I worked for President Obama for 7 years. We were part of the team on everything from same-sex marriage to making sure we were fighting for affordable care rights. The reason why I'm running for mayor is because we have to change the game. The mayor is a joke. He's a clown. He's not trying to fight for us right now. And there are things that we can do that are very specific. We have to make sure in this Trump environment that we create spaces as safe havens so that you don't have those that are attacking our LGBT community in any regard. Let's be clear that trans community, in particular trans of color, are being disrespected and attacked at every single again. We are standing up in very practical ways. We have to be clear that an employer that will discriminate, we will take their contract and we will hold them accountable. It is about being understanding that we are serious about this. So if you want to be focused on everything from affordability to changing the game and fighting against Donald Trump, my name is Michael Blake. I'm the handsome Jamaican in the room, and I'm asking to be your mayor right now. Let's go, everybody.
Hey, that is how you do a minute. That's a good minute. I like that. That's a New York minute, if you understand. Okay. Here to tell us why they believe they are the best candidate to fight for and protect LGBTQ plus people in New York City. Please welcome Comptroller Brad Lander, also from the Working Party's family. State.
All right, happy almost Pride, y'all. Yeah, great to be here. Thank you, Amit. Thank you, Marty. Thank you, Jeffrey. Thank you, Ms. Peppermint. I'm New York City Controller Brad Lander. I am honored to be here. There is an opportunity for New York City to stand up and show what we are made of, because a set of people have been fighting for rights now for decades, since Stonewall, and we've got to show this fascist in the White House that New York City knows what New York values look like. I have been proud to be doing that for a long time, before I was ever in government. I built and preserved affordable housing, including for people with AIDS and LGBTQ folks, in the city council. One of the best bills I passed was to prohibit bias-based profiling by the NYPD against folks based on gender identity or sexual orientation. Folks like Linda Dominguez and other activists have used those laws in court. I co-sponsored bills to ban conversion therapy, to let people change their gender marker, to make sure they could use the bathroom associated with their gender identity, to require LGBTQ education in our high schools, in the controller's office. Every year, we show that we are standing with our LGBTQIA plus community. We've got this great guide. When Trump was elected, convene trans leaders in my office. When I am mayor, we will stand up and fight for affordable housing, for safety, for every single New Yorker, including Miss Peppermint.
Thank you very much.
It's hard to know when where time is.
Wait, oh yeah. Oh, so you have to hold them at 30 seconds. Hold the, so they can see the numbers. Yeah, I wasn't sure. Okay. Thank you.
All right.
Sorry, we got it. We're down. Okay. Here to tell us why she thinks she's the best candidate to protect and fight for LGBTQ plus New Yorkers. Give it up for Adrienne Williams. Adrienne Adams, the first Black woman speaker of the City Council. Hello. Currently representing District 28 in Jamaica, Queens.
Thank you so much, Miss Peppermint!
Oh, wait, don't start the time until the applause has gone down.
I reclaim. It is my absolute pleasure and joy to be with you all today. Thank you so much for this amazing forum. You deserve it. And do take account of who is here for you. My name is Adrienne Adams, and I do lead the most diverse city council in the history of the city of New York, with the strongest LGBTQIA caucus that the city has ever seen. Strong and proud. I come from the middle-class family raised with union hands. I know what it is to be an everyday New Yorker because I am an everyday New Yorker. I'm a mother and a grandmother, wanting the same thing that all of you want: safety, affordability, and a place to be proud of, which is something that is a little on shaky ground right now. I have been in the private sector, in corporate America. I have also been a flight attendant. Yeah, I can save your life in 90 seconds still. And so... and now into public life in the city council. In public life in the city council, I have led the city council for almost 4 years, very, very proudly. And with your interests at heart and at mind and spirit, you are a priority for me, as you always have been as mayor. You will continue to be that priority for me.
All right.
Definitely, if there's an airline emergency, it's Adrienne that you want, just to be clear. I'm not running for that.
Y'all, you don't know, with swimming lessons, Heimlich maneuver, anything? Okay. With the time, we have to see the number, though. I got you. Okay, when it's 30, because when you hold your hand up. 30, and this will be okay, great. There we go, okay. Thank you. Or you could just hold up the paper at 30 seconds if you don't want to, if it's too much to show. So you guys know. Okay, that's great, thank you. All right. Okay, let's move on to question number 2, shall we? I'm just going to ask the question once, and then I'll call on whoever. We'll mix up the order a bit. Is that cool? All right, sounds good. Y'all ready to do this? Let's jump in. Queer and trans people are under attack, from the classroom to the emergency room, from the workplace to the marketplace. In New York City, we have the strongest anti-discrimination laws anywhere in the world on the books, but laws are only as good as how they are enforced. So what is your plan to enforce our anti-discrimination laws, including the new protections just passed by the City Council? Please be very specific and very brief. Let's go back to Adrienne.
Sure. I am so proud of the legislation, again, having the strongest LGBTQIA plus caucus ever in the history of the city of New York. We have championed protections for you. We have protected and restored programs, HIV/AIDS programs. We have protected our trans siblings. We go out and we march and we make sure that we keep Drag Story Hour. So we have done these things. We just passed a brand new piece of legislation championed in the city council that will protect your health care. Where Donald Trump and Eric Adams don't care about it, the city council under my leadership will continue to protect your health care. You cannot be discriminated against no matter who you are, no matter what part of the community you belong to. Your health care, because of the leadership, my leadership in the city council will make sure and maintain your rights, your civil rights that you deserve, just like everybody else in this city.
Controller Lander.
Thank you. The day I heard that NYU Langone and Mount Sinai were threatening to deny gender-affirming care to their patients that they already had, I immediately called up Attorney General Tish James, and I said, Tish, don't these laws, isn't that a violation of New York State and New York City's human rights laws? And she said, yes, it is, Brad. I'm one step ahead of you. I already got the state letter in, but I don't know where the city letter is. And so I immediately reached out to the city's Human Rights Commission and said, we need to be investigating. This is a violation of New York City law. So I'm going to strengthen enforcement at the city's Commission on Human Rights. That means it needs a bigger budget. It means it needs staff. So there will be city-level enforcement of our human rights law. We should also create an independent authority to be providing reproductive, contraception, abortion, and gender-affirming care so we can protect New York health and hospitals. They can keep their Medicaid funding, and we do not let Trump weaponize it against us and keep providing the care that everyone deserves. I did it good that time, yeah.
Okay, Mr. Blake.
As we've seen from the nonsense of Trump, where he tries to bully people when it comes to their money, to your question, the way that we can hold people accountable is if they actually have discriminatory actions, we should take away their contracts. We should rescind the ability for them to do work in New York City. You cannot have absolutely discriminatory, racist, sexist, misogynistic, homophobic entities continuing to do work in our city and making it seem like everything is fine. It doesn't make any damn sense, quite frankly. Don't worry, I'll stay on the time. I'm past, I'll be okay right there, right? But we gotta go a step further. We then have to make sure that those that are doing it the right way are being protected and getting more support. And so that means, let's go a step further. When we see an employer doing it the right way, when we see a hospital or a school doing it the right way, when we see a company doing it the right way, we should not only extend out additional contracts, but we should extend out additional protections. Lastly, to your question, there has to be that same level of protection in everything that's happening, from our housing to our schools to our community centers. If you have that level of legal and financial protection, that's the specific ways that we actually can stand up and fight for you in a real way in this environment right now.
Thank you for that. Now, realistically, that question, I think, would deserve more than another 30 seconds, but we obviously are close, really short for time. Other candidates, not enough, have released recently their LGBTQ pages on their website to really be very comprehensive about their plan for the community with regards to a whole host of issues. We would like to invite each of you to make sure that you have that out and released as soon as possible, especially to address any issues that we don't get a chance to talk about here today. So please keep that in mind as we answer the rest of the questions. If you want to slip anything in that we don't ask, you are invited to do so. Okay, so I just keep moving my little desk around. Next question, are we ready? Here we go. The Civilian Complaint Review Board, CCRB, is the city body that has independent oversight over bad cops. It has an important mission but faces many obstacles because it lacks sufficient authority. NYPD is able to delay cooperation with the board's investigators. The police commissioner, who ultimately has authority over discipline, basically acts like it doesn't exist, and it's chronically underfunded. So how are you going to make sure that this board, which often investigates wrongdoing against queer and trans New Yorkers, can actually do its job? Will you support giving disciplinary authority to the CCRB, yes or no, on that last one? Let's start with Controller Lander.
Yes.
There you have it.
Yeah, I mean, they should have disciplinary authority for the things that they're proposing, and where there's any difference between what the CCRB proposes and what NYPD says, it needs to be adjudicated by the Office of Administrative Trials and Hearings, not by the police commissioner. That's like being the judge and the jury. What I'll just underline here, I mentioned before, is that when I was in the city council, together with Public Advocate Jumaane Williams, I passed the Community Safety Act. That was at the height of discriminatory stop and frisk, and what that did was prohibit bias-based profiling based on a range of categories, including sexual orientation and gender identity. So we now have the strongest protections against bias-based profiling in policing, and are one of the only jurisdictions that includes trans and queer folks. And those laws have been used by activists like Linda Dominguez, setting New York apart and making clear this is a city where we're going to expect law enforcement to keep all communities safe without discriminating against anyone.
Mr. Blake?
So, absolutely yes. And now let's go a step further. As someone, I've endured police brutality twice in my life. And once when I was an elected official, and I had to sue the CCRB, and we won because we showed the foolishness that's happening there. Now, I think there's several specific things we need to be doing. First, we need to have an actual police misconduct registry to understand that any officer who engaged in misconduct before they were here, why the hell do they still have a job, right? Second, we need to stop the foolishness at NYPD, which they have $1.4 billion that went to overtime. Maybe if we actually focus that on addressing the concerns that are happening and the attacks that are happening on the community, we would be much more thoughtful in that. Going a step further, it's one of the many reasons why we must close Rikers, because Rikers is a place that has been repeatedly under attack and what's going on with trans issues. So when we talk through CCRB, yes, we have to strengthen it, but maybe we focus on people not being harmed by the cops in the first place, then you would actually have a better strategy thereafter. Lastly, in the same way we would have people held accountable for doing their job, if you attack anyone in our communities, you need to lose your job, period, point blank.
Speaker Adams?
Yes, period. CCRB, very, very, very interesting body. They are there for all of us to make sure that there is accountability, to make sure that police are held accountable. But year after year, that has not been the case, primarily because of prioritization. As mayor, that will be a prioritization. As city council speaker, I have funded more than anyone else the CCRB to actually give them teeth and give them independence. The police commissioner needs to be held accountable if that is to be a true independent body. So as speaker, I have funded now to give teeth to the CCRB. The police commissioner must have accountability to make this a true independent source, and we have to make sure that there is accountability in the police department. Those bad actors in the police department, as my colleague said, should never be employed. And so there needs to be accountability. We need to follow through with the CCRB. We need to also reconstruct the CCRB, because the way that they're going right now, they need to be reconfigured to do the right thing by all of the people of the city.
Let's move now to immigration. Immigrants are queer and trans, just like queer and trans people are immigrants. God forbid you should happen to be both. In Trump's America, right now ICE is arresting people following the law and showing up to their immigration appointments or at their court hearings, before they are convicted. What we want to know, and please be specific, is how are you going to protect the most vulnerable among us in these situations? Let's start with Michael Blake.
As the son of immigrants, let's start from the place. ICE has no damn business at our schools, at our places of worship, at our nightclubs, at our community centers, at all. We need to make sure, unlike Eric Adams, none of us are going to work with Donald Trump to hurt our communities. Now we got to go a step further. Too often, as in our communities, we have allowed stigmas to break and not do the right thing. I'm going to be clear. I'm going to fight for you. All of us are. Too many times you have folks that are elected officials that are not actually trying to protect you. And so when we think about what has to practically happen, we need to designate all of our different spaces as safe havens, something that NYC has indicated, because if we do that, then ICE is not permitted into those places unless there's a signed judicial warrant. Take it a step further, we should not allow continued funding to be happening to be kicking our communities. Because what is going on? You have people that are afraid to go to work. They're afraid to go to school. You have ICE showing up in unmarked vehicles right now all across our city. Those are the practical steps that you have to take to make sure that we are actually keeping people protected and not being deported by this absolute fascist regime.
Controller Lander?
Of the 8 million New Yorkers, 40% are immigrants. 50% live in mixed status households, including 1 million children. Like, this is the future of New York City we're talking about. One of them, Dylan, a high school student who was doing everything right, was scooped up by ICE after being tricked into dismissing his case. Yesterday, I attended the City College graduation, like the most heart-filling thing, and I asked them to stand if they were the kids, they were immigrants themselves or the kids of immigrants. Every single person standed. The valedictorian came here from El Salvador 6 years ago not speaking English, and now she's the valedictorian of one of the best schools in America, and she's going to work for the city of New York in the Department of Homeless Services. I was proud, seriously. So that's why I was proud to be a co-sponsor of the City Sanctuary City Laws, and we will not be letting ICE into our schools, into our shelters, into our public hospitals. I rushed out to Newark when Ras Baraka got erected by ICE. That's a mayor who's standing up for his people. New York needs a mayor who is standing up for ours, and that also means getting resources out into the communities so no unaccompanied minor or anyone else faces deportation proceedings without a lawyer. New York City can provide it.
Speaker Adams?
Yeah, so let me tell you who endorsed me. The baddest attorney general on this side of the planet, Tish James. And so when I tell you that I am mentored by the best, Tish told me, Adrian, if Donald Trump gets in your way, sue him. Ow! So guess what's already happening, family? I am suing Mayor Eric Adams and Donald Trump to prevent ICE from coming onto Rikers Island. And so when Eric Adams decided to have his first deputy mayor, y'all catch that? First deputy mayor, sign an executive order that's unheard of because deputy mayors don't sign executive orders. Red flag, red flag, red flag. We had to take a look at that. So by the power that the city council entrusted in me, I sued Eric Adams for bringing executive order number 50, which is illegal. Rikers Island has been closed to ICE since 2014. So this is an illegal order. So thank you, Tish. I'm suing them. I got my TRO from the judge, so she will hear that case because she realizes it has merit. And by hook or by crook, I will protect our immigrants and make sure that ICE never lands on Rikers Island.
I'm flying through this because I want to be able to get to some questions.
These aren't questions?
No, these aren't questions. Surprise! Audience questions. Next topic is healthcare. Gender-affirming care, put this right in front of my face. Gender-affirming care, that was something that was more of an obscure thought just a couple of years ago, but now a lot of people are thinking about it and realizing that they too are participating in gender-affirming care. Yes. Cisgender heterosexual people in America are the largest purchasers of gender-affirming care. Probably in the world, but...
You're going to ask a question about what gender-affirming care we each receive? Is that what you're going to do now?
I won't even go to which people this current administration are using gender-affirming care. You just look at their eyebrows to find out.
Uh-oh.
That's real talk. That's real talk right there. That's real talk.
You know.
Peppermint gets an extra 30 seconds for that one right
okay,
there.
it might have to be. Okay.
We're supposed to have medical privacy here, you know, I'm just saying.
Trump's first executive order went after federal funding for hospitals that provide provide this case, provide gender-affirming care. Even though that order has been temporarily halted by the courts, NYU Langone preemptively canceled all of their appointments. Now, we could have had another Mpox outbreak. The city bungled the response last time around. The Supreme Court could gut coverage for PrEP. The frontrunner's treasurer funded anti-trans attack on Proposition 1 last year. So what are you going to do to protect our health care, our gender-affirming care, access to life-saving preventative care, and emergency responses? Please be specific and brief. Speaker Adams?
Yeah, I'm going to stand on the legislation that continues to develop in the City Council. As I just said a little bit earlier, we just passed legislation to protect what Donald Trump wants to throw out. So as mayor, I will expand on that. And guess what? I'm going to work collaboratively with the City Council, something that this mayor has refused to do, to make sure that we protect your rights, which we're already doing, but we need partners to do that. I'm a collaborative manager. That is the way that I have always taught, the way that I have always managed, to bring you in the room with me when the decisions are made, because it is all about you and your protection. And I won't know what to do for you unless you tell me that. So you're going to be in my conference room on the other side of City Hall to make sure that your voices are heard loud and clear. I'm going to need you to help me lead this thing, to see this thing through, and to beat the pants off of Donald Trump. Oh, no, we want to keep his pants on. I'm sorry.
I was going to say, ah, my eyes!
Horrible visual.
Mr. Blake? Your eyes, yeah. Everybody all right? We're all right.
Yeah, we all need to reset after that visual that Adrian is giving. So let's start from the place. We will honor what your gender is that you declare. Full stop. That is what we need to be, and that is who we are.
There it is.
And so to that degree, everything we're watching from Trump is, again, trying to attack us and threaten weak people, whether it be NYU Langone, whether it be other entities, where their punk status needs to be called out. Yeah. And so what we then have to do is say, we will make sure that the funding and the legal protections are in place so that your health care is provided. When I was in the assembly, we did this for Boom Health in the Bronx. We did this across the city, and saying very clearly that we are going to stand up for you, because too often it is in silence you're not getting the health care that you need. Going a step further, the attacks that are happening around Medicaid and Medicare, et cetera, also intertwine here. Because if someone is wondering, will I have protections and will it be paid for, then they're going to be sitting in silence. We will not allow you to sit in silence. So it's not only holding people accountable being the hospitals, but it's making sure that the funding is in place so that you get the care that you need and that you are honored for the gender that you're claiming to be.
Controller Lander?
First, I'm going to fund and strengthen the City Commission on Human Rights to enforce the city's human rights law, which requires people not to discriminate against folks based on their gender identity. That's the law we passed in New York City, and NYU Langone or Mount Sinai or nobody else can break it, but we have to enforce it. Then the city itself, through health and hospitals, can do a lot more. I want to tell you for 30 seconds about this independent authority I want to create. Health and hospitals, $4 billion budget. About $1 billion of that is federal Medicaid funding. We spend about $100 million on gender-affirming care, abortion, contraception. We should take that and put it in an independent authority funded only with city, state, and private funds, so that H&H can continue to get that Medicaid funding, provide the broader set of services, and we can both protect and expand the gender-affirming and reproductive care that New Yorkers need.
Yeah. I mean, that's a huge, it's huge, I think, for a lot of us. As someone who's trans, the two issues that would either keep me in this country or get me to look for somewhere else is if I don't have access to my health care and if I don't have access to accurate identification. And both of those two things are on the table and under attack right now. And so it is on your websites. More about that plan, obviously, but like what would be the reserve or the fail-safe if everybody lost funding, you know, not everyone, but like federal funding, then what do we do as a backup to keep it running? And Can we take 30 seconds to add? We're going to take 30 seconds to add. If you want to add anything in addition to kind of, I know you all touched on it, but please expand.
Yeah, I can start. You know, being the only person in this race that has successfully negotiated 3 city budgets and now negotiating the 4th city budget, I can tell you right now that a priority of mine is to Trump-proof New York City. So I've already taken the initiative as Speaker to set aside almost $2 billion to start exactly that. It's $1.9 billion in reserve. I am asking for the mayoral administration to one-up us, if you will. We need to protect this city. I am doing that currently because we already have the mindset to do this. Donald Trump is going to keep this target on our back no matter who the mayor is. But as the city's council speaker, in real time, it's my responsibility to Trump-proof the city. I am doing that now. As mayor, I will expand the good work that I am doing as the leader of the city council. As your mayor, we will expand this good work and take this work even farther so the job can get done the right way, the way that it should have always been done in the first place.
Controller, okay. Michael Blake?
So I come to you with 2 different levels of experience to your question to answer it directly. As the only person in this race who has actually defeated Donald Trump when I was vice chair of the DNC, and the only person who has White House, State House, and local experience, to your question, all of us have incredible plans, but we have to say to you how we're going to pay for this. And so there's very specific things. First, I think there needs to be a vacant apartment tax and a vacant commercial tax. If someone is not utilizing New York as a primary residence, that person should be taxed to generate revenue to bring things to here. It would be right for all of us. Second, we have excessive, obscene overtime that is happening at NYPD, the $1.4 billion that had nothing to do around public safety. We know that right there. Third, there's property tax reform. I love my Knicks. Lord, we need the Knicks to win tonight. But I understand, but let's be clear. MSG is not paying us anything right now. That's another about $400 million that we could bring in. And if we take those steps alone, doing that, you're getting close to about $4 billion right there. So to your question, those are specific ways that we can pay these bills. Lastly, I'm going to agree with the speaker that we have to be serious about utilizing parts of the reserves. We are in a crisis when it comes to affordability, and we are in a crisis from the Trump shit show. And so we got to be clear that if we go into the reserves, that's another way that we could pay for our bills and protect us until we get the White House and get Congress back.
Yeah. Very good, very good.
So 1 week after Donald Trump was elected, I became the first financial officer in the country to lay out where's every federal dollar that flows into the city budget, and was $9.5 billion, and talked about how we could start to identify and protect our funding and put aside reserves, $1 billion in the general reserves, $1 billion in the rainy day fund. A couple weeks later, a nonprofit said to me, that's great for the city, but what about the Medicaid funding that's flowing to our federally qualified health centers, our community-based clinics? So we did the same, every federal dollar that's flowing into New York City. So I have put out the roadmap of where that money's coming from, developed this authority model to show how we can protect it, and proposed where in this budget we should increase funding to get legal services to immigrants, to triple the trans equity fund, and invest in the services that the most vulnerable New Yorkers need in the face of Trump.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Triple, that's right. I like that. I'll stay. Next question. This comes from our partner, PFLAG. Let's hear for PFLAG, one of our sponsors. Our schools are supposed to be the safest spaces, yet we've seen school leaders refuse to use students' names and pronouns, pull books from library shelves, not allow trans students to use the correct bathrooms, and give in to bigoted anti-LGBTQ parents who bully them. And there are only 2 people managing the LGBTQ plus students for all 1,800 public schools at the central level. What are you doing to protect our students? So anybody, okay. Michael Blake.
As a husband and a bonus dad, I was actually showing them backstage about our youngest was playing ball. We got to be clear that this homophobic, anti-blackness, anti-Latino dynamic that's coming out of DC won't be tolerated. And this is being continued, quite frankly, because of Eric Adams allowing this to be the case here. And so when we talk through the notion of someone saying we're not going to talk about the history of happening within the LGBTQIA plus community would be like someone saying they're not going to talk about black history or women's history, and that person has no business being an educator. They have no business being a part of the education system, and they need to be removed quickly because that is discriminatory in every possible way. Now we got to go a step further. The work I did in the assembly, I want to expand out our My Brother's Keeper program so that it becomes My Brother's Keeper, My Sister's Keeper, and also across all genders so that we understand how we are all united as one. We have to be intentional around how do we reimagine what's happening in education. I believe every kid should have civics, financial literacy, and mental health before they graduate from school because that allows for a broader dynamic what's happening here. And if we take these steps, then we will actually have a vision around education and a vision around what's happening for our students that's protecting them. I'm closing here. My school, Northwestern, is one of the latest schools that they just went after. And you have to be an institution that says, I am not going to allow you to tell me what is right because you're trying to tell me about our money. Find the money and do what's right.
That's right. Speaker Adams?
You know, I am a mother and a grandmother, and I brag about that a lot. But, you know, the other side of that also is wanting to protect those that you love. I have grandchildren that take the transit system. I want them to be safe. I also want them to feel that they are safe no matter who they choose to love. It's a priority for me. And it is my accountability as a leader in the city to be accountable. So when I look at our youth, as mayor, again, as my colleagues keep saying, we cannot afford to be scared and to back down and to be silent when there is a crisis right now going on in the LGBTQIA plus community. We have to have a mayor that has the courage and the strength and the will to stand up, speak out, use that bully pulpit, demand, pound your fist on the wall if you have to. Somebody will stand up and listen if you have the political will and the courage to speak out. That's the vocal voice that I will be for you as the mayor. I have been that vocal voice in legislation as the speaker. Let's continue this work on when I will be the mayor of the city of New York to lead all of us into our civil rights.
Mr. Lander?
So I'm the son of a public elementary school guidance counselor, a public school kid myself. Both my kids went from pre-K to 12 in New York City's public schools. I have seen what is possible when every single student, regardless of who they are, feels welcomed and affirmed and invited to learn. And you would have cried yesterday at the City College commencement. I mean, kids from everywhere, so many of them queer, so many of them using their one moment to do some protest, to speak up. What can happen when our kids feel that power is amazing. A lot is required to do that in the schools. I'll just tell you quickly about one program. We co-sponsor something with Chinese American children and families that they call AAPI Classroom. They train high school students, Asian American high school students, in Asian American history and culture, and what anti-Asian hate looks like. And then those kids teach their high school classmates a class on this. And I sat in at Midwood High School when a young woman named Julie Sue did that for her classmates, and it was transformative. So when I am mayor, I'm going to expand that program. So black kids and Latino kids and Jewish kids and Asian kids and queer and trans kids first learn that history of New York City, learn about Stonewall, learn about people who fought for rights, learn what the threats are, and teach their classmates what it looks like when we show up for every single one of our kids.
Next topic, managing the city. There was recently a report that showed that the city has 7,000 pending unpaid invoices worth over $1 billion to community organizations, like the 8 incredible organizations represented here today, that provide the support, education, and advocacy that our queer and trans communities need to thrive. How do you intend to address the fact that the organizations that support our LGBTQ plus families, or their youth and communities, wait multiple years to get paid for that work and thus struggle to stay afloat? How do you intend to support us when our contracts remain unpaid year after year? Let's start with Speaker Adams.
Yeah, that's the million-dollar question, literally. But you know what? I got a bill for that.
Okay.
So, you know, while we can take a look at what may happen or what will happen, once again, I'm leading the fight for this cause. You know, we have nonprofits that are owed upwards of $18 million right now. We had a hearing just a few weeks ago to call Mox, the mayor of Office of Contracts, on the carpet, and they gave us an outline of their backlog. I've introduced legislation already to make sure that our nonprofits are paid up front the majority of what they are owed. That bill will pass the city council. I have also included in that package of legislation a bill to create an organization that will be held accountable, so there won't be different entities. We've got hats in the mayoral administration that are saying, all right, plug into this system, plug into that system. That is the reason for the backlog. So with this legislation and my bill, there will be one agency that is accountable, one contracts agency that is accountable, that right now will pull all of these strings together. We will hold them accountable to be responsible to get these bills paid, pay our nonprofits, and stop this horrendous backlog. I got a bill for that. Done.
Controller Lander?
So that report you mentioned came from my office. We put out that study and showed in detail how we could fix it. This is an outrageous problem. Like, what if we said to a school or a firehouse, please start fighting the fires and teaching the kids on January 1st, and maybe next October, November, December, or sometime the following year, we'll get your contract registered, and then maybe a couple months after that, we'll pay your invoices. It's outrageous. That's why we did this research. That's why we articulated a very clear plan for how to fix it. In my office, when contracts have to be registered, we have 30 days to do it by the charter. We've got a deadline. I have gotten our average down to 17 days because I've hired the best people. We have registered over 70,000 contracts, every one within 1 month, the average time being 17 days. I take this stuff seriously. I've audited every city agency. My pension fund management or audits have saved the city over $2.5 billion, and when I am mayor, every single one of our nonprofits will get paid on time. That's why we did this research. That's how we'll fix this problem.
Blake?
So the fact that we're having this conversation doesn't really make much sense, that the city doesn't pay people, that you've already won the contract, and they play the games of what's happening here. It's not that the money is not there. It's that they're choosing to not pay you. So when we talk through what has happened, I've said very clearly in the first 100 days that unless there's a legal reason why any outstanding contract needs to be paid, full stop. There is no reason why you're waiting to get paid. Now we got to go a step further. The passport system and other systems have been completely nonsensical. They'll tell you you're not getting paid because you didn't submit a piece of paperwork that you already did, or because they don't call you back, or they have you waiting online. The system is not actually efficient and effective. I know this because as a small business owner, I've seen this here in the city. I led the prompt pay bill in Albany where we changed it so that businesses with less than 300 employees had to get paid in 15 days instead of 30 days. And if they did not get paid in that timetable, there was a trigger that actually government had to then pay them faster so they weren't waiting all the time. You have to be very serious in saying to this degree. Lastly, let's stop with the conversations of you being reimbursed for your work. You should get funding up front for your work because you clearly know what you are doing in this regard. You consistently are being told to do the work and then wait to get paid. You should not have that happening, and you will not happen with the Mayor Blake administration.
I'm going to let everybody know that we are going to be cutting the intermission, and we have a candidate that had not, up until this point, RSVP'd, but they are going to be joining us. So we're reshuffling a little bit, and we're going to move quickly through everything, but we have an addition. I don't know who it is. Get your tomatoes ready, just in case. No. No, just kidding.
I think just more questions about gender-affirming care.
Yeah. It is. Okay, so there was, okay, let me go. Oh, we're almost to the end of it. Here's the last question, last but not least, and then we have some audience questions. This is very critical. Actually, no, I'll do these questions first. I'll do the audience questions first, and then the last one. I'll read the text message. Sorry. Okay, let me look at the text message. Okay, got it.
Let's hear from Miss Peppermint, y'all.
Peppermint. Yeah, Peppermint.
Yeah.
Okay.
Should we be scared about the ones you skipping through right now?
No, yes, no. What? Which question should I ask? What do you want me to ask, Marty? Number 2 on here? Number 2 is blank.
Hell no.
Yeah, ask that one.
That's that one. That's that one.
I'm sorry. I got it. So which one? That's it. That's the only question. Okay, well, hold on. We're going to ask this question. Thank you, Miss Queen Jean. Who are you going to rank as number 2? And I want to say, I just want to preface this by saying, you know, like, I've lived in the city a long, long time. I'm really grateful for this ranked choice situation that we have, because it allows us to really, it works better for your constituents. It really does. It allows us to categorize people by the issues and by their platform. And as tough as it may be, it really means a lot to see all of you here, but all of you participating in the thought behind ranked choice, and it shows a coalition. And I believe that at the city level or at the national level, federal level, or interpersonally, when we talk about the need, especially under a fascist regime, the need for mutual aid and for us to connect with each other, politically, ranked choice voting works. It makes sense, and to hear your plan for that is going to be very invaluable. And so I'm grateful that you're about to tell us who you would rank as number 2. Okay, let's start. Let's start with Controller Lander.
I mean, I think the main important thing for ranked choice voting this year is who you're not voting for.
Yeah,
so I will not be ranking Andrew Cuomo anywhere in my 5 slots, and I hope you won't either. And I'll be honest, as long as we follow that ABC, anybody but Cuomo or Dream, don't rank evil Andrew for mayor, you can guarantee that someone else will be the mayor of the city. There are many good candidates. I'm not going to give a number 2 ranking today, but what is most important is keeping him off your ballot.
Okay, that's fair. That's fair. Okay, Speaker Adams.
I think I can almost say what my colleague just said verbatim. You know, we would be breaking news on this stage. Not that we don't love you, because we do. but we would be breaking news on this stage today, I think, if we were to give our number 2. We just really, really need the message to come across. Number 1, ranked choice voting works. It is a necessity in this election, more than any other election in our lifetime. We cannot afford to have Andrew Cuomo, who is trying to re-identify himself as something that we all know he is not and never will be to any of us. So we have to make sure that we do not rank Andrew Cuomo. That really, I believe, is the goal of all of my colleagues as we work together. I really do like my colleagues, by the way, if you all didn't tell. We really do like and respect each other. And I think that's something else that we have not seen in a mayoral election ever. So I just wanted to put that out there also. I really like these guys. I like my colleagues. So you know, do not rank Andrew Cuomo.
I really like Adrian. Really like Brad. So let's start there. Hell no to Cuomo. I think we can all agree on that. I don't think you're not going to get from any of us who are ranking number 2.
Okay,
right?
that's clear.
You know, right? Yeah, okay. Right? Yeah.
We had to try.
I will. But I will say this. If someone is unwilling to come speak with you.
Okay, all right now.
If someone is unwilling to show up at forums or meetings or any opportunity to come talk to a voter because they are afraid because they killed 15,000 people with their policies at COVID nursing homes, or they're afraid because of the more than 13 women who they sexually harassed in the toxic environment, because they're afraid because they actually didn't do a damn thing to help people, because they're afraid because they closed hospitals when the opportunity and medical. If there is such a person as that, you should not rank that person. If that person happens to exist, you should not rank that person And I will say, for those of us who do show up, you should be ranking us in your 5.
We definitely appreciate each of you showing up. I am very honored that you did, and I was really curious to see who would show up and who wouldn't. I'm so excited to find out who this mystery candidate is. But I'm really grateful that each of you have shown up and talked with us. I wish the best of luck to all of you. Please give it up one more time for these fabulous candidates. Speaker Adams, Controller Lander, and Michael Blake. Let's pose for a picture in the middle. All right, y'all, please either sit down or leave or stay. We want you to stay. We have to get started right now. We have to get started right now. Please take a seat. Thank you so much. Take your seats. We are starting right now. Whoa, something dropped. Uh-oh, be careful. Oh, no, the sign. Is it all right? Okay, y'all. We're going to keep it going here with our next group. Wow, the queer power just to move these candidates in and out. Dismissed. Next. I love it. All right, y'all. So we're just going to keep it going. It's the same format, obviously. So please help me welcome to the stage our next 3 candidates. Jessica Ramos, Scott Stringer, and Zoran Mondami.
Sorry, Peppermint.
It's all good. Okay, so I said this in the first section, but I'm going to say it again for our viewers who are watching us online and for our three fabulous guests right here, that the LGBT community is extremely intersectional. Every single issue that exists is an LGBTQ plus issue. And I do want to, I'm going to start off by saying one of you so far, I believe, has posted recently on their website their LGBT and their trans platform, and we're really grateful for that. We would like more candidates in the race to do that. I think every single candidate should be doing that, and so we're going to invite those of you who haven't to please put this section on your website and let your platform be known so that everyone, so we can go deeper, because we obviously don't have enough time to ask the questions that we have, or more questions that deserve to be asked. So we're going to start by by asking and inviting each of our candidates to let us know why you are the best candidate to fight for and protect LGBTQ, queer, and trans New Yorkers. I'm going to start with Senator Ramos, Jessica Ramos, State Senator for District 13 in Astoria, Jackson Heights, Queens in the house, Corona, and newly added to the Working Families Party, yes, just last night. Please tell us why you are the best candidate to fight for and protect LGBT.
Well, good afternoon, everybody. Buenas tardes. I am the proud state senator of District 13, the second largest LGBTQ community in all of New York City. And I have to say thank you to Queers in Action, not only for this forum, but actually many of you in these seats helped me get to the New York State Senate. And so I believe that I've already had tremendous support from the LGBTQ community, because they know that I've never waited to have a job title or be in elected office to actually be a good ally. I've introduced and passed legislation in order to help the LGBTQ community. I have led on many fronts. I've been marching at the Queens Pride Parade, which is tomorrow, for the past 30 years of my life. And I really want you to see in me a mayor that is going to see you as a partner to govern, to actually help lead the fight against Trump and make sure that our agencies are going to responding to all of the various needs the community has right now.
Thank you. Let's go with Scott Stringer. Can you please tell us why you are the best candidate to fight for and protect LGBTQ plus New Yorkers?
Well, thank you first for giving me an opportunity to be here today. I have been fighting with and for this community for the better part of 30 years. I have been part of your victories, and I have shared many, many nights when we have been defeated. But as your ally, I have never backed down. In the Assembly, I was the original sponsor of the Marriage Equality Act. There were 5 of us. Quite frankly, I did not at the time think that by sponsoring that bill, we would see it passed in my lifetime. And yet, because of the tremendous coalition that was created and built, we were able to do that. I supported every single important piece of legislation in 13 years in Albany. When we had to fight the Republicans, we actually nudged Cuomo to do more when he was wanting to do less. And then, as borough president and as controller, I worked nationally on the bathroom bill, took on Texas, took on New York City, and made sure that critical funding was part of this community. And I'm very glad to be here as a candidate for mayor with allies tonight. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Zohran Mandami?
Thank you so much for having me. It's such a pleasure to be here this evening. You know, we are facing a moment where LGBT...
Oh, wait, I'm sorry. I need to introduce you properly. That was rude.
That's fine.
Just jumped right in. Assembly member representing District 33 as parts of Astoria and Long Island City and Queens, and also on the Working Families Party slate and I'm going to read yours as well. I forgot, I didn't read everyone, so I want to make sure I'm fair to everybody.
Thank you.
Mr. Mamdani, please go ahead, and then we'll read yours, Mr. Stringer.
Thank you very much. Thank you, everyone, again. It is so lovely to be here. Look, LGBTQIA+ New Yorkers are under attack in two key ways. The first is from an affordability crisis on the inside, and the second is from Donald Trump's administration from the outside. And in this moment, we need a mayor that will stand up to meet both of those crises. And ultimately, what we are facing is the front runner of this race being Andrew Cuomo, someone who thinks we lost the general election, in his words, because we talked too much about bathrooms and sports teams. And ultimately, what that reflects is a willingness within our own party to betray trans and queer New Yorkers and Americans, to deflect from the responsibility our party has to face up that we actually betrayed working class people so long ago, and we're finally paying the bill. So what I offer in this campaign is a clarity of purpose, the courage and the conviction that is needed in order to make the most expensive city in the United States affordable, and to ensure that we protect each and every New Yorker as we stand up to Washington, D.C.
And as I do a proper introduction again for our former controller, former Manhattan Borough President, and Assembly member from Manhattan, Scott Stringer.
Thank you.
My apologies.
No.
He's got every title there is.
Pretty much. Okay.
And I was ranked 6th by the Working Family Party.
Okay.
They don't know it yet.
Just by the skin of your teeth. Okay, so let's get into our first topic, which is protecting us from the onslaughts against our communities coming from Washington and public safety. Queer and trans people are under attack from the classroom to the emergency room, from the workplace to the marketplace in New York City. And we have the strongest anti-discrimination laws anywhere in the world on the books, but the laws are only as good as they are enforced. So what is your plan to enforce our anti-discrimination laws, including the new laws and protections just passed by the City Council? Please be specific and brief. We've got 1 minute. Let's start with Mr. Stringer.
Look, this is where experience matters. Donald Trump, and I was there for Trump 1. Trump 2 is mean, smarter, and more hell-bent on bringing down this city and everyone in it. He believes, and his people believe, that by destroying the social safety net that has been cultivated and carefully built over decades to help this community and others like it, he wants this to be his mainstay. This is his agenda. So the best way to fight back is, 1, we got to know where he's going to take our money to collapse our programs. As a former controller, I know those budget codes. I've audited every city agency. I know where the federal money is commingled with state and city money, and I will be able to identify early on how we fight the Trump agenda. We need a $1 billion very, very rainy day fund. So when they come for critical programs that impact this community, we are able to replenish that fund to get us strategically to the midterm elections, where we take the Democratic House and we start dismantling the Trump agenda.
Thank you. Senator Ramos?
You know, when I was a member of the last mayoral administration, I saw a much more aggressive Commission on Human Rights, much more than the current one during this administration. I believe that, many times the law can be used as a shield, but many times, especially in the face of a fascist, it must be used as a sword. So expect from me an administration that is going to very deliberately litigate against an administration that is going to take away the rights of this community or any community, because New York City is for everyone, and it has to continue to be. That being said, we also have to play chess. We have to be able to withhold our federal funding from the Trump administration if they're going to take away funding unlawfully from all of our different programs, whether it's gender-affirming care and our hospital system, including Medicare and Medicaid, or any other service that we depend on, because there are many. I have actually already introduced legislation to do that and would want to do so outright as mayor, making sure we're keeping our tax dollars, not sending them to DC in order to fund the other states. We want to keep our money and keep fighting.
Mr. Mamdani?
You know, in this moment, Donald Trump is going to use the fact that the federal government funds about 7% of our city's budget as leverage over us, leverage to give up whichever category of New Yorkers he wants. And while it's tempting for us to think that this repression is only coming from DC, we can see just from NYU Langone that there are institutions right here in New York City willing to echo that repression. And we need to have a mayor that will stand up, and stand up in a number of ways. The first is I'm going to be establishing an office of LGBTQIA+ affairs. One that will finally bring the framework and the lens and the focus that has been so deeply missing in our city government for too long, and accompany it with substantial investment. And we can also look at an example of that investment as being putting $65 million forward to match the amount of money that could be stripped through Medicaid for gender-affirming care. So we can tell hospitals and providers, you can still stand on principle, you can still follow New York City and state law, and we will have the funding there for you.
The Civilian Complaint Board, a review board, CCRB, is the city body that has independent oversight over bad cops. It has an important mission but faces many obstacles. Because it lacks sufficient authority, NYPD is able to delay cooperation with the board's investigators. The police commissioner, who ultimately has the authority over discipline, basically acts like it doesn't exist, and it is chronically underfunded. How are you going to make sure that the board, which often investigates wrongdoing against queer and trans New Yorkers, can actually do its job? Will you support giving disciplinary authority to CCRB, yes or no, in your answer, please? Senator Ramos?
Yes, I do want to give the CCRB disciplinary authority. I want it too. I think all police officers who have serious complaints made about them have to be thoroughly investigated, and upon finding that the truth is that they have disrespected their badge and their service to the public, that they should be removed from the police force. I don't believe anyone is above the law. And this is why I want the CCRB to be fully staffed, fully resourced, fully funded, and make sure that it has teeth in order to be the counterbalance to the NYPD, because what we've seen during this current administration, starting with the Chief of Patrol, John Chell, who murdered a man while he was in uniform, they've only been promoted instead of being fired. And so we're never going to be able to improve the morale inside of the NYPD unless we take our public safety seriously. And that's why I would even tack on mental health services and housing and everything that leads to true safety.
Assemblymember Mamdani?
Yes. For too long, we've had a mayor that has treated the CCRB's findings as suggestions that can be swatted aside by whichever police commissioner he's on at that time. And ultimately, what we need is a mayor that lives up to what Eric Adams, of all people, said in 2021, when he told New Yorkers they need not choose between safety and justice. Those are words that a majority of New Yorkers voted for. Those are words that a majority of New Yorkers are still waiting for. And that's what we're going to deliver to them. And I was proud to stand there alongside Senator Ramos in calling on Commissioner Tisch to dismiss NYPD police officer Jonathan Rivera, who was recommended to be dismissed by the same judge that recommended the dismissal of Daniel Pantaleo, in this case because Rivera killed a New Yorker at a traffic stop. These are the kinds of instances of abuse that we have to bring to bear and actually treat with the responsibility that they've been missing.
Mr. Stringer?
I think the CCRB should have final adjudication authority. And look, the next mayor is going to have to seriously reimagine what this police department looks like. We're dealing with a mayor for the last 4 years who brought a gang of thugs into the NYPD at the highest levels not the lowest levels, at the highest levels, chiefs, police commissioner, brother of a police commissioner, the people who we have to trust the most to keep us safe, were rolling around taking everything that wasn't nailed down, shaking down businesses, shaking down people, stopping and frisking citizens even though it's unconstitutional. So the next mayor, top to bottom, has to bring in a team at the NYPD that will never, never again allow us to ever think that the people at the top will never be held accountable. That's why CCRB enforcement is critical at this moment in our history.
Let's move to immigration. Immigrants are queer and trans. Queer and trans people are immigrants. God forbid you should happen to be both in Trump's America right now. ICE is arresting people following the law and showing up to their immigration appointments or at court when they are showing up for hearings, before they're even convicted. We want to know, and please be very specific, how are you going to protect the most vulnerable among us in those situations? Let's start with Mr. Mondami.
You know, I came to this city and this country at the age of 7, and I got my citizenship not too far away from Federal Plaza, where today we are seeing ICE agents detaining New Yorkers who are coming in for their regular check-ins. And we know in this moment of authoritarianism, the Trump administration is sending masked men in unmarked cars to pick up New Yorkers, whether they are on the street or in their apartment building lobby. And we have a candidate for mayor in Andrew Cuomo who can't even bring himself to call for the release of those very New Yorkers. And it's disgusting. What we need is someone who will understand that sanctuary city policies have kept us safe in New York City. They were defended by Democrats and Republicans alike for decades. And now to roll them back is an invitation to those same ICE agents. That's why, as someone who serves on the State Assembly Cities Committee, with my 3 minutes that I get every year to question the mayor, my first question was, will you follow the law and refuse entry to ICE agents seeking to enter into schools, hospitals, and city properties unless they have a judicial warrant signed by a judge? He refused to answer that question. We need a mayor who knows the answer is yes.
Mr. Stringer?
There are so many moments, and we've all studied and learned this, and so many in this community have actually felt it, what it means to feel that moment when someone you love, cherish, you may never see again, because at any given moment on the streets of different cities around the world, they can be taken away and never seen again. And the one thing about this city has always been that can't happen here. Wherever you come from, whether you flee persecution, whatever your orientation is in life, when you come here, first and foremost, you are a New Yorker, and no one will lay a hand on you. And that is not happening right now. Can you imagine parents who send their kid to school and the kid never comes home, right? Can you imagine that feeling? Or your own parents that you may never see again in the city of New York? So let me be clear with all of you. That president that we have, that schmuck, is not going to be in our business when I'm mayor.
Senator Ramos?
My father was abducted by immigration when I was a baby. I'm not old enough to remember, but my older sister and my mom do remember. And it is completely destabilizing to a family, not knowing what has happened to the breadwinner, not knowing, especially in the 80s, of course. But even now, despite technology, families are having trouble getting information in real time about their relatives. And there's no excuse. Eric Adams sold us out to save his own ass. That's what he did. And in turn, he has allowed ICE to now enter into our schools, our houses of worship, our hospitals, our libraries, and we have to end the cooperation of ICE and the NYPD. The NYPD is not to carry out ICE and Border Patrol's orders. That is not what the NYPD is meant to do, and as mayor, I will be very clear in my directives. We have to have a mayor that the NYPD is going to listen to. That is very important for this era. We also need legal representation for queer immigrants and all immigrants. We have to bring back Action NYC. In a town with 7 law schools, there's a lot we can do and get creative to make sure everybody has dignified representation.
Let's move on to healthcare. I said this earlier, but as a queer, as a trans New Yorker, the two things that are keeping me feeling safe and that are the most important thing to me are access to and having a very accurate identification, passport, and access to healthcare as a trans woman. And that's under threat right now. So gender-affirming care, which is, not just a trans thing, is under attack by our current administration. Trump's first executive order when he went into office was to go after federal funding for hospitals that provide gender-affirming care. Even though that order has been temporarily halted by the courts, NYU Langone, as you mentioned, preemptively canceled all of their appointments and stopped their services. Shameful. We could have another monkeypox outbreak in the city, which bungled response last time around. The Supreme Court could cut and gut coverage for PrEP. The frontrunner's treasurer-funded anti-trans attack on Proposition 1 last year. What are you going to do to protect our health care, our gender-affirming care, access to life-saving preventative care, and emergency response? Please be specific. We'll start with Mr. Mamdani.
As you said, Andrew Cuomo's treasurer was a part of the attempt to defeat Prop 1. And we have to remember that because it's not just Donald Trump. And when NYU Langone made that decision to preemptively comply with an illegal executive order, they did so in part because they think of the federal government and Republican mega donors as the ones who have built that hospital, the ones whose names are in the wings of that hospital. But the truth is the city is one of the biggest donors to NYU Langone because we exempt them from a single dollar of property taxes. And what I said then is if you want to violate city and state law, then we have to explore whether you deserve these kinds of exemptions. And it's important. It's important that we do so because too often we misunderstand power as something that is only technical, when in fact power is also the use of the leverage that a $115 billion budget provides you. And that's why, as part of our LGBTQIA+ platform, we have put forward not just to create the office that I spoke about, but also to make this city a sanctuary city for queer and trans New Yorkers and those fleeing in refuge, and finally to step up for gender-affirming care and ensure we have that replacement funding ready if the federal government does cut it.
Senator Ramos?
There are a lot of healthcare issues inside and outside of the LGBTQIA+ community. I actually have a large population of seniors who are aging with HIV and AIDS who are often forgotten. And I have done my best to continue to advocate for them as their senator and would do so as mayor, making sure that, yes, we're penalizing those who are discriminating against human beings because healthcare is a human right. I also want to continue to be one of the loudest voices for the New York Health Act and single-payer care here in New York City and New York State. But more than that, we need our city hospitals to get real. We have to have our serious training, because I get the complaints of doctors and nurses to be educated in dealing with these maladies and the people who are suffering from them. I want to build a gender-affirming care municipal fund so that there's no more insurance company gatekeeping. because
Oh my God.
the commodification of our health care has to end.
I think that's something that all of you should adopt. Mr. Stringer?
First and foremost, we do have to protect our people from the cuts. And the very rainy day fund, the $1 billion set aside, I believe can meet the challenge of the millions of dollars we will need to put back when the federal government comes for funding for gender-affirming care. But I also think the one thing the mayor can do with our public hospitals and our private hospitals is finally do what we probably should have done many years ago. And that is bring the executives who make between $500,000 and $2 million with bonuses who run these hospitals. It's time to have a meeting at City Hall and adopt the pledge. And the pledge is you do not get to end run our New Yorkers that you're supposed to serve. And you are not going to lay down for Donald Trump. And I do agree with Zoran. If you do it, then you're going to do it without us, and that's a decision you make. So you either go back to your donors for your own special care and have them ante up, or you meet our demands, which is just about civil rights and social justice. We're not asking you to do anything that any doctor would not be taught to do in medical school.
Let's move on to education. Just checking. This comes from our partner, PFLAG, NYC. Let's hear it for PFLAG, NYC. So our schools are supposed to keep us safe, are supposed to be the safest spaces. Yet we've seen school leaders refuse to use students' names and pronouns, pull books from the library shelves, and not allow trans students to use the correct bathrooms, and give in to bigoted anti-LGBTQ parents who bully them. And there are only 2 people managing LGBTQ plus students for all 1,800 public schools at the central level. What are you going to do about protecting our students in this situation? Let's start with Zoran.
It is unacceptable to see that ratio. You know, what we need at the very least is a liaison for every single DOE district. That is at the very least of what we need. And what we also need to understand is that this kind of bigotry that we've seen in community education councils right here in this very borough is a bigotry that will continue unless we have a mayor who stands up for queer and trans New Yorkers. And too often we've seen an unwillingness and an inability to tackle that crisis. And, you know, at the core of it also is the fear that it spirals into hate violence. And we have put forward a proposal to create a Department of Community Safety, one that will pursue evidence-based policies that have already proven effective elsewhere across the country and here in New York City. And then the focus on 5 things. It focuses on mental health crisis, homelessness, gun violence, hate violence, and victim services. And within hate violence, it includes a commitment to increase funding by 800% for anti-hate crime programming, a lot of which can take place within our schools to keep all of our students safe.
Yes. Mr. Stringer?
For those of you who may be old enough to remember your own experiences in public school, I remember knowing for a fact that if my best friend from elementary school all the way up through high school and beyond, if he ever came out in our public school, we knew that he would literally not be safe. And he knew he would not be safe and had to rely on a protective group of people who would always have his back. That's just the reality of growing up in the city back then. We've made a lot of progress, but not enough. I have 2 kids in middle school. I worry about the signs of bullying for them every single day they come home. I'm not sure what I'm always looking for, though, because you really don't know. So because we may make these kids, schools raise them, we have an obligation to them to keep them safe. And that means we have to ComStat, because that's what we do nowadays, right? We measure everything we do. And we have to measure bullying in schools with real data and real surveys. We have to be in the schools and think about it. This is so critical because the end result of bullying is very often suicide. It's very often a tragedy that gets swept under the rug. And I promise you, based on my own lived experience, and every day we think about that with our kids, Jessica and I, we cannot treat this as simply hiring 5 more people. We have to build out a system of justice for our children.
Senator Ramos?
It's true, and thank you for saying that, because I do know you're a great dad, but it really is about even changing the culture, I would say. To me, it sounds like we need more queer books, right? We need more people to step up and courageously tell their stories in order to really inspire our young children to live their full lives, their full expression of identity. That is how we're going to keep each other safe. Now, I'm a little younger than Scott. When I went to PS 70 and IS 10 in Queens,
I knew it was going to happen at some point or another.
when I went to public schools in Queens, actually, that was my first experience with someone who was transgender or questioning their own identity. And I really saw people who were confused, which is why I think it's so important for us to make sure that there's even disciplinary action against staff who are creating unsafe environments in schools for our children, including parents, a specific one here in Manhattan, who dared to try to implement a poor policy that would keep transgender girls from playing their favorite sport. That is unacceptable. We have to have the social workers and people in every school, especially in communities where we know there are large populations, because every single child should feel safe in their school.
Excuse me. Hi, how's it going? My name's Paperboy Love Prince. I'm a candidate for mayor and also a queer non-binary candidate, the first. And, you know, I love all that you all are saying, but none of you stood up for me, a queer candidate, and said, hey, I would like to have all the candidates represented, as well as the candidates that were here before and the organizers. You all did not do that. So I just want to say that this is the problem and why queer folks are having so much trouble in New York City, because when folks try to step out of the box and be their authentic selves, they get railroaded and sidelined, and the establishment politicians will say nothing and do nothing about it. So that's a major problem in New York City, and it can't continue any longer. And I'm sorry if it's out of order, but this is something that needs to be said and needs to be addressed. So thank you very much. You guys have a good evening.
Okay. Paperboy Prince, we're going to ask you to stay if you're able to afterwards.
I appreciate it, but I mean, you guys already have the event going, and I was told one thing and now told something else, so I appreciate it so much. Much love. Paper, yeah, one love, but thank you.
We can hold space. We can.
I completely understand, but I had to do this for a space to be held, and as a queer black candidate who's tried a lot to work very hard, you guys have made every concession for the folks who've gotten millions of taxpayer dollars to run.
No, I haven't.
Okay, well, one person hasn't. But for me, I'm running this campaign, as a regular New Yorker, somebody do you guys have roommates? You know what I mean? And actually trying, and so it's actually really sad, and I'd rather leave, let you continue as you intended, and you all have a great evening. Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Okay, Paperboy Prince, thank you. Okay, so that was you were the last one in this question. Did we start with you? Oh, no. We have to go to Zoran. Okay. You're the last response. Okay. So let's move to the next subject, managing the city. Or managing wherever we can manage. Uh, oh my gosh. Okay. There was recently a report that showed that the city has 7,000 pending unpaid invoices worth over $1 billion to community organizations, like the 8 incredible organizations that are supporting us tonight. They provide support, education, and advocacy for our queer and trans communities that they need to thrive. So how do you intend to address the fact that the organizations that support our LGBTQ+ families, youth, and communities wait multiple years to get paid for their work and thus struggle to stay afloat? So how do you intend to support us when our contracts remain unpaid year after year after year? Please be specific. Let's start with Zoran.
So before I was a state assembly member, I was a foreclosure prevention housing counselor. I worked at an organization called Chaya CDC, and I would work with low to moderate income homeowners trying to keep them away from the eviction that they were being threatened with. And I share this experience with you because that was a job in nonprofits. And that was a job where I knew that so much of my position and the positions of my colleagues were funded by the city. And as you've said, the city currently owes more than $800 million in contracts that it has promised but not paid out on. So there's a few things I would do. The first is I would implement a late penalty on the city itself so that if it does not follow through on that payment, it faces a fiscal cost. The second is to ensure that we also increase the amount of money we are putting in those contracts so that they cover the entire cost of the service. Too often the city will give you a contract that covers 73% of the job that you're supposed to do, and they will expect you to complete the entire job. We need to ensure that we stop the metric we've seen, which is that in 2021, more than 20% of human services workers were paid so little that they too were on SNAP benefits.
Mr. Stringer?
So this is where I like to think experience and management matters, because for too long, the people who actually provide the services are the people who are getting screwed in this process. You know, everyone thinks the city provides services. It's not true. The city manages the contracts so the not-for-profits can go out and help the world. And the lack of payment is not just lack of respect, it's also lack of services. So here's what I'm going to do, and I dealt with this as controller for 8 years with the previous mayor. We do not value the nuts and bolts of government because you can't put it on Twitter. You can't have a rally and say no justice, no procurement. It doesn't work that way. I'm serious. I'm serious. Y'all ever gonna come to that rally? No, you're not, right? But this is real. So what we have to do is within the city agency, we have to build the arm of the procurement office to hire the people and build capacity to get those contracts done on a timeline. It doesn't exist today in most agencies. And just like as controller, when I approved 95% of the contracts on time, we have to get the city to do that. And lastly, I'll deduct my time from, but this is an issue that I spent a lot of time working on. The reality is that when you think about the procurement process, I am not for expediting a different process because there is fraud and there is waste. And when mayors come and give their contracts to favorite organizations, some that don't exist, I'm not talking about anyone in this room, you do need to have oversight and scrutiny. And when I was controller, I oversaw that mayoral administration. Since the Adams administration, half the folks who were asleep and let them get away with it, we have got to make sure that we have an eye on whoever the next mayor is, including one of us.
We are in deep need of procurement reform. Right now, it is completely centralized in the mayor's office for contract services, and there isn't the proper staff at every city agency to actually ensure that the procurement process is being guided for the organizations that are working with that specific agency. So that would be the first thing I would do. The second thing is to make sure that the contracts are renewed a lot earlier in the process, allowing for a much easier, streamlined application, making sure that the people who are doing a good job know ahead of time, with enough time to plan ahead for the next fiscal budget. And third, I am very proud to be the first candidate to have called for the city to pay an interest to organizations when there has been a late payment. Because the reality of our economy, especially over the next 4 years, is that we may see inflation, the cost of living rise. And so we have to help our organizations, especially in the LGBTQA community, to remain afloat, because we're going to need you to continue being on the front line, protecting people and keeping them safe.
So we have one more question. There's
I was there too.
actually, this is a audience question. So NYC, New York City, is a mecca for queer young people for decades, for centuries, darling. I've heard. But it is no longer the situation. It is way too expensive. So how will you address the very acute crisis of affordability, especially for young queer and trans people? Let's start with Zoran.
This is the most expensive city, the United States of America. It's the third most expensive city in the world, tied with Zurich. And it's also the wealthiest city in the wealthiest country in the history of the world. We know it doesn't actually have to be this way. And what I'm going to do as the next mayor of this city is I'm going to freeze the rent for more than 2 million New Yorkers living in rent-stabilized housing. And I am going to build 200,000 new, truly affordable homes for New Yorkers who are currently in market-rate housing, or for those who want to become New Yorkers. Because too often, as we see development in our neighborhoods and we need more housing, there isn't enough that is truly affordable for people who already live there. And that's why the metric of affordability in this 200,000 homes is for the median household income. New Yorkers who are a family of four making $70,000 a year. It means looking at the fact that more than 100,000 New Yorkers live in our shelters today. And so many of them have been given vouchers by the Adams administration, they can't find a landlord to accept them. And the Adams administration cut the funding for source of income housing discrimination unit such that there's no consequences for those landlords. That's why the utilization rates are 50% for Section 8, 23% for city FEPs. We need to build housing, and we can actually finance that housing with the use of all of those vouchers as well.
Senator Ramos?
Well, I too want to freeze the rent. I'm a rent-stabilized tenant. It was able to keep me safe at a time where I was in a precarious situation. And so making sure that we are helping people keep a roof over their heads is the first step towards safety, absolutely. But the LGBTQIA community also suffers not only from housing discrimination, but from employment discrimination. Okay? So the other part about the affordability question is making sure that there are real opportunities for employment. I want to bring back the idea that a person only needs one good job to be able to provide for themselves and their family. And so, you know, making sure that we are upholding the private sector when they do the right thing, making sure that we're leading by example at City Hall, not only with gay and lesbian commissioners, but hopefully the first transgender commissioner in the history of New York City. It is time, but more than that, even to help our community form cooperatives in the businesses of your interest, and making sure that there's the appropriate seed money through CDFIs to help you get there. It's about putting wealth in your hands too. We deserve to own a piece of our city.
Mr. Stringer?
Zoran makes a very good point about the tremendous wealth that is in the city. You know, I was Manhattan Borough President. I woke up the next day, kid from Washington Heights, and said, I represent so many billionaires. I mean, it's really, truly remarkable, right? But what's really also equally remarkable is there are queer youth, homeless seniors, who are sleeping in front of churches, sleeping in front of synagogues, sleeping at Grand Central. We don't know who they are. We think we do, but we don't. And there is no specific plan today to deal with a housing crisis for the people who are the most vulnerable. Now, I know a lot of people, and I don't disagree, say build housing. Some people say build 500,000 units, some people say 1 million units. I don't have a number. But I believe that the job of government is not to manage the free market. The job of government is to build the low-income housing we need for as many people as possible. And I did 2 audits as controller that form the basis of my housing plan. The first is we have 1,000 vacant city-owned lots. We own them. Don't give them to the luxury developers. We built 2,200 NYC units. LaGuardia did that. We built Mitchell-Lama apartments. Mayors did that. Let's build housing for the people, but let the people build the housing, not the luxury developers. I can't tell you that solves the crisis, but there's going to be a lot of safer kids in our city, a lot of seniors who will live longer if we use those vacant lots and transform them into the housing we need. And I will do that starting in January as mayor. Thank you.
Last but not least, what in the hell is your ranked choice voting strategy? Now, I can't say the name of a certain someone, but how are you going to beat them? Whoever wants to take it.
Okay, I will take it.
Here we go.
And then
This is it now.
And then I sadly have to run out. You know, we've been on debate stages together, the 3 of us and the other candidates that preceded us, for the last 7 months or so. But we've never seen Andrew Cuomo. And that's because his team made the correct assessment, which is that the more the public and the press see of him, the less they like of him. So they keep him hidden away, and he probably still lives in the suburbs. And it is going to take ranked choice voting to defeat this man. And even though he's a former governor who's the son of a former governor, he still can't secure a majority of New Yorkers' support in that first round. And he will tell you that his greatest strength is the inevitability of his campaign. I can tell you, 8 weeks ago, I was in the final round with him. He was winning by 40 points. 2 weeks ago, it was down to 20 points. Earlier this week, it was down to 12 points. And as of a few days ago, it's down to 8 points. So I tell you this because this race is not inevitable and that we have to use all 5 of our rankings. I'm proud to be on the Working Families Party slate with Senator Ramos and apparently also with former Controller Scott Stringer, number 6. And I am telling every New Yorker, fill your ballots and don't have Andrew Cuomo be there as any one of them. Thank you so much.
Senator Ramos?
Well, to that I'll add that our biggest hurdle is apathy. Still, too many New Yorkers aren't paying attention to the race. Still, there are too many New Yorkers who don't have a plan to come out and vote, even though as a legislature we created early voting, we made it easier to get absentee ballots. We need each and every one of you. You are all deputized here to go talk to every single relative, friend, neighbor, person you know that can vote, to please make sure they have a plan, to make sure that they know where their polling site is, to make sure that they understand the stake of this election, given that we are really fighting for our lives. We are talking about protecting the very fabric that makes New York City great. What would New York City be without our LGBTQIA community? What would New York City be without our immigrants? What would New York City be with everyone who's under attack by Donald Trump? This is a make or break moment. Please, every New Yorker who's a real New Yorker votes in this election.
And last but not least, Mr. Stringer.
Okay, so I didn't apply for the Working Families Party endorsement. So it's not like they rejected me. They still secretly love me. They just don't know what to do with me. So, but but here's what I wanted to, here's what I want to talk about in terms of the strategy. Don't over-strategize the strategy with a month ago. The first thing that we have to do is figure out who really is going to be the best mayor of New York City. And that has to be paramount. We don't want to become like Cuomo, right? We don't want to only think politically. We need a mayor who has experience, who's competent, who's incorruptible, but also has a vision. And there's a lot of candidates who spent months and months, the two of us as well, who are making that case. Spend the next week or two thinking who should be the moment in this time. And then think who's the second best person who could be the mayor. And then look at what's going to happen at the end of this race in the last week or two, and then make your political decisions. Because I have faith that all of you will figure it out. I mean, one of the problems I think we're having is everybody right now is ranking 5 people, 6 people. People come up to me and said, I heard so-and-so ranked you #1. I say, no, they didn't. And they, no, I saw it on the list. We're confused. We're just confusing people. If you want Jessica Ramos to be mayor, even if you don't think one of us could win, but you think, be for her today, be for me today. And then we'll figure out how to do this. Cuomo's not going to win. And the reason I know this is I did this before. 2 weeks before the Spitzer election, when that ex-governor was beating me by 20 points, people were coming to my house like it was a shiva, right? They brought food and they were sitting there going, it's over, you can't win, but it's okay, we love you. They hugged me in the street. West Siders were like tears in their eyes. But here's what happened. We hit the debate stage, we got on TV, and we beat him. And one of us is going to beat him, I guarantee it. Thank you and good night.
Can we pose quickly for a photo? Let's give it up again for Senator Ramos and Scott Stringer and Zoran. We're going to take a quick photo.